One of my close friends was running down the basketball court. He collapsed in front of all of his best friends and passed away, I think, 30 minutes later. I feel like that was part of my life journey so that when my son did pass, I could understand what his friends were going through. Most spiritual people believe, and I, for the most part, agree, that life happens for us, not to us.
Today's guest, I have known since we were kids in Kentucky. I've watched her become a mother. In fact, we were pregnant at the same time. She threw me my bachelorette party. I have watched her survive the unthinkable. Today, she's here to talk about what nobody tells you about loss and why she believes the connection doesn't end. Carrie, welcome to the Better Call Daddy show. Okay, I am so excited to have my childhood friend on Better Call Daddy today. We are going to reminisce about Kentucky and kind of what has changed since growing up there. Carrie, welcome to the Better Call Daddy show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm excited to have you on. I have known you since we were little. One of my first memories with you is when we used to do those slip and slides in my aunt and uncle's backyard out in Prospect.
Yeah, those were really fun days, carefree, and I wish we had realized then how wonderful life is when you're a kid and you don't have any worries.
I know, right? And also, we grew up going to like bar and bat mitzvahs together and cotillion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. And even when we caught up the other day, you were reminiscing a bit about Drew Corson. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. When we were 15, one of my close friends and first kind of on and off boyfriend was running down the basketball court in Cleveland at a Maccabi games. And he collapsed in front of all of his best friends and passed away, I think, 30 minutes later. So that was my first really major loss in my life. And yeah, I'd asked a rabbi where Drew was or what we believed, and was told that in Judaism, we believe that the soul goes somewhere where there's no time or space. We're closer to God and we're waiting, but we don't know we're waiting because there's no time for the Messiah to come so we can live life the way it's supposed to be lived.
And that is a lot for a 15-year-old to even understand.
It is. It is. And that was my understanding for quite some time until it might have evolved a little bit before my son passed, but now it's evolved quite a bit.
Yeah. Talk about how you feel like those are connected incidents.
I feel that was part of my life journey so that when my son did pass, I could understand what his friends were going through and really be able to have empathy and sympathy for them and how difficult it was, and be able to do it differently than how I did it as a teenager.
Wow. It's so crazy how we have these perspective shifts later as parents, even.
And perspective shifts throughout life. We get these nuggets of information. We either hear something that somebody else says and it resonates deeply as truth, or we hear something somebody says and we're like, oh, that's not truth to me, right? So it's really important that we go inside in our heart and feel into whether that feels like truth for us or not.
And you've talked about that you've done a lot of modalities and healing and kind of heart connecting. I know you just spent 7 months in Hawaii. Talk to me a little bit about that adventure.
Well, the healing before that were there because if we go backwards, when my son had his accident, I started getting knowings immediately that nothing had gone wrong. This is what was supposed to happen, and everything is according to plan. And I did not think that way. I didn't understand that. I'd never heard of soul blueprints or soul contracts or any of these things. but I was getting these downloads and then I was getting signs and no other explanation, things happening. And so just Grant and the universe and whoever was helping him send those messages, it really made a difference and opened up my mind. I was blessed that while I was picking out his casket and we were picking out which one, I kind of landed on one. I was like, maybe this one. And the lights blinked right over just that one. And I was like, okay, well, thank you, Grant. You picked it out for me. I didn't have to think about that. Just like the sign behind me, I didn't know what to put on his headstone. And so I said, well, Grant, you got to send me a message and let me know what to put on there because I just can't. It's such a major final piece. I don't know what to put on there. And I was gifted the sign about a year and a half or so after he passed. And I was like, that's exactly it. Friend to anyone, loved by everyone.
That's so sweet. And that was given to you by a friend, right?
Yeah, by one of his friend's dads. And that just came through to him and he had the sign made. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to the accident. It was right around his 12th birthday.
Yeah, it was at his 12th birthday party. We did an overnight with 5 of his friends at a friend's farm. And that morning, the boys woke up before we did. And when we woke up, they were on the four-wheelers and they weren't supposed to be. But I didn't want to be a mean mom. They were having fun. So I was like, well, I'll let them do it for a few minutes while I make breakfast. And as soon as breakfast is ready, then we'll come and get them. And right when breakfast was ready, one of the kids ran in and said there'd been an accident. Grant was sitting up when I ran out to him and talking and actually walked to the car or walked to the side by side to ride up to the car and walked up there. We thought just his jaw was broken.
Oh my God.
And on the way to the hospital, he started decompensating. And yeah.
That's crazy he could walk still.
Yeah, I still don't understand exactly what that was. However, about a year later, before that, I was told a couple months, 8 months, 10 months, whatever. I was told that he was taken out of his body during the accident and then put back in and taken out of his body and put back in. So he didn't feel any of the pain or the fear of the accident, which didn't make sense to me because I didn't think that way. And then about a year after he passed, I'd had a medium reading and was shown flat stones stacked on top of each other, or the medium was, and I couldn't place it. And he showed her 3 different times. We let it go. And we're like, well, maybe it's something coming up. And about a month after that, I was in a car accident. My car went off the side of the road very close to the house. And I was taken out of my body. My car went through an exact space that was the width of my car between a mailbox and an entrance, a stone entrance with flat stones stacked on top of each other. That there's no way that I could have gotten, if I was driving, and there's no way that my car would have gone through that without being hurt. So at some point, I went off the road. I was pulled out of my body. I was put back in and was told, take your foot off the accelerator. And so I took my foot off the accelerator. I was pulled back out of my body. I did not have experience out of my body. I wasn't in it. So my car went through that narrow passageway, went up over the driveway in the air, clipped the light on the other flat stones stacked on top of each other. And then I came to a stop upside down. Like it rolled and I came to a stop upside down. And once I was put back in, I was like, oh my God, what just happened? And started screaming and then realized, oh, I'm okay. I can help myself. And took off my seatbelt, got on the out of my car. Luckily, my window had been down a bit, and a neighbor who I had never met was walking with her mom. And they came over. The woman held my hand. They called 911. The woman held my hand until the firemen got there to get me to extract me from my car. And of course, in that moment, I didn't process anything. But about a month later, I drove by, which I drove by this constantly. And I went, oh my goodness, those are the flat stones stacked on top of each other. This was a gift so I could understand how Grant experienced his accident and didn't have that fear and was held in love and protected. And then another piece of the mediumship reading that we couldn't place at the time clicked, right? She was given the names like Charlie and Charles and I went, oh my goodness, those are my friend's family. I was at the funeral, and that's who spoke at the funeral. And it was her dad's funeral, and her mom's name is Charlene. And Charlie and Charles were the two people that spoke at the funeral. And when I was at that funeral, I knew that Grant knew her dad. I knew that Grant was there with her dad watching his funeral. And then when all of that clicked into place with the names, it was like, such amazing evidence that you just can't make up. There was so much richness there. And I feel like that accident was quite the gift, especially with the mediumship, the way it played out.
So you feel like you started seeing these signs and these different instances right away?
Yeah, I mean, the week that he was in a coma, I was getting these downloads. Even right after the accident, it was like his best friend was on the back of the four-wheeler with him. And I was like, Jackson's angels got him off the four-wheeler. And if Grant was supposed to get off, then his angels would have gotten him off too. Who thinks that way? My son's like...
Right. Would you ever have said that even?
No, it's totally didn't come from the Carrie story. It came through me. It wasn't me. And
I didn't know that he had walked to the car, Carrie.
yeah, I didn't think. And then my cousin is a neurologist in Israel.
Did somebody drive you? Because you were with him, right?
Yeah, I was sitting in the back seat and my friend drove us. And Grant's dad stayed behind for a bit with the boys, and then he was in a panic and drove. I don't even know where
It
he
must have
knew
been
that
such a
where we
blur.
were. Yeah, it was all such a blur. Our brains really go into a trauma protective state. And that whole week that we were in the hospital and I was just held, and time didn't feel real. I only left his room to go to the bathroom, and I don't know. It was...
So he gets in the car, you're sitting in the back with him. You also told me that he said, I feel paralyzed.
Yeah, I don't like to go through the negative parts of it so much. But yeah, when I first got to him after the accident, when he was on the ground, sitting up, talking to one of his friends, he said, I'm paralyzed. And I said, no, you're not, sweetie. You're sitting up. You're fine. And we actually giggled about it.
Because that's what moms want to do. They want to just hold their babies like when they're hurt.
Yeah. The human in me still hurts and grieves, and it's been about 5.5 years. You asked before about healing work that I've done. I've done neurofeedback, EMDR, ADC, which is induced after death communication. That was very powerful. It's EMDR, pedal to the metal. So when we have traumatic events happen, they stay, I hope I get this right, in our right hemisphere. So every time we think of that event or pieces of it, we are viscerally feeling like we're right back in that moment. With EMDR and the IADC, when you go through the whole story and all the things that are activating you with the paddles in your hand, so you're holding paddles that vibrate back and forth. So it's bilateral stimulation. And that helps your left hemisphere then process that information. So we know that it's already happened and it's not happening now. And so it takes away that visceral and fear that you feel every time it comes up. So after it was 2 days at 3 hours, 2 days in a row with 3 hours each day. And after that second day, I remember getting in the car and it was like I felt lighter, the lights came on. It was that extreme heaviness and that extreme was processed. So I didn't forget anything, right? Still have those memories, but that visceral reaction was better. And it was also the first time that I really I had signs and stuff, but it was the first time I saw Grant in the present moment and was able to create new memories with him, I guess.
That's beautiful. Wow. Is that paddling like tapping?
It has a similar effect as tapping. And so when I have something that comes up, whether about him or about anything that's activating for me, I tap, and it does help the left hemisphere incorporate it. So it's this bilateral stimulation. I also like to share with people something I do almost every day, that if you want to do it with me,
Okay. Yeah.
put your hands out and you say, everything I've done,
Everything I've done,
everything I will do,
everything I will do,
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I love that so much.
And I get chills every time I do it.
It's definitely a good reminder. I need to remind myself of that for sure. It's so hard to really embrace that, especially when you're going through a hard time.
Yeah. And I've had my challenges.
Yeah. I didn't know too about the cancer.
Yeah. So in 2019, September, I guess I was diagnosed, and I had 2 surgeries in October of 2019. I'd had a little red spot that looked like a broken blood vessel where I'd gotten aggressive with a zit. And I've looked back in pictures, and over the course of 10 years, it became 2 little red dots. And I had been to the doctor and dermatologist and all kinds of stuff during this time, but didn't look like anything. And then I got what looked like a blackhead right by the 2 spots. So my regular doctor was like, I can't get this blackhead to pop. I don't know what's going on. And so he tried it and he was like, you're going to have to go to the dermatologist. And he even had a Medi Spa. So if it was a blackhead, he would have been able to get it out. So I went to the dermatologist and she did one of those things where you just cut a sample of it or whatever. She said, this isn't a blackhead. I have no idea what it is, but it's not a blackhead. And she said, I wanted to send it in for testing. And it took a couple weeks. It took 3 labs, apparently. I had to go all the way to California from Kentucky. And it came back as 2 extremely rare kinds of cancer mixed together. So she sent me to an ENT/plastic surgeon, double board certified. And he thought that the hole would be much smaller. But once we got into surgery, it was, in order to have clear margins, he had to take a big hole. They also took out a lymph node that it drained to. Nuclear medicine put this stuff that glows all around it. And then I had to sit under some kind of x-ray machine while they saw how it flowed. And so if it had gotten in my lymph, they had to test the lymph nodes. So miraculously, it did not get into my lymph nodes, so I didn't have to have further treatment. But my first surgery left a big hole all the way down to the muscle. And then 10 days later, once they knew the margins were clear, they did reconstructive surgery and they took the skin and twisted it, and 280 stitches
That is so crazy on your face too.
on my face. So it goes all the way like here and then across and down.
They did a good job, I'll say. Seriously.
Yeah, it's
You can't even tell. I mean, that's insane. But that is so hard as a woman in your face and just all that you're going through in life.
yeah. So that was a year and a month before Grant passed. And it took a long time. And I've had a little bit of reconstructive stuff done to fill in the fat pads and the muscle. But I like to say it's an external wound for all my, or an external scar for all my internal wounds.
Oh, scars are good stories.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank God it didn't spread. I mean, that is.
Because we had a friend pass from skin cancer a year or two before. He had something behind his ear and he was just busy and put off getting it checked and put off getting it checked. And by the time he went, it was in his lymph nodes. And I believe he had about 6 months of treatment, but don't quote me. And then he succumbed to it. When you're young and the skin cancer gets in your lymph nodes, it is extremely dangerous and can be fatal. So everyone out there, if you have anything weird,
Go get checked. I haven't been checked in years and I have moles and all of that everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. And when it's on your face and people are seeing it every day and it doesn't look like anything.
I know now I'm like looking at my husband. I'm like, is that little red dot?
Yeah. I mean, who knew? Who knew? But it was, most spiritual people believe, and I, for the most part, agree that life happens for us, not to us. And that we're not a victim of any of the things that happen, that our higher self and our soul agreed to doing these things to help us wake up or to help us be on our path. And sometimes that's a lot more palatable than thinking that everything's just random and how much more could go wrong.
One thing that you and I talked about that I thought was like such a deep insight is the whole talk about free will versus being in a simulation and then life just kind of course correcting. Can you give me that analogy about being in the Mario game?
Yeah. So the way my current understanding of it is that it's like Mario, but Mario has free will. So if Mario chooses to run backwards or be distracted by something because of free will, he's able to do that, right? Unlike when we're just playing Mario and we have absolute control over it. But then our soul and our higher self, our guides, angels, whoever you want to believe the universe is helping guide you, just kind of puts you back on path a little bit, puts you back on path, or has an event that helps put you on your path. Because if time isn't real, time is only real, like linear clock time is only real in Earth school. So there's the capability of things to be changed and switched around from the universe so that things start to flow again.
I know. I can just picture that happening, how you're just dropped back to the beginning of the level. You're like, I was just eating the mushrooms and on my way and then fell and now I'm back to the beginning.
Yeah. Well, not even back to the beginning, just like
put somewhere I wasn't wanting to be. Yeah.
Let's straighten out your path. Let's straighten out your path. But I mean, these are all, to me, difficult concepts for our human to wrap around. And that's why I said at the beginning, it's really important for us to feel into, does this feel true for me? Even if this is a far out concept, or even if what is resonating in my heart, our human minds our egos really go down into fear or over analyzing or trying to figure things out. And these are ideas that are really hard for our human brain to understand, right? And so that's why we're also skeptical, which is good, but we're questioning those things. But if we're able to drop down into our heart and into our gut and feel into it, then even things that don't make sense, you can, at least I'm able to trust that it's true.
Have you reflected upon kind of your childhood and how you were raised and what you believe to be true, but what you believe to be true now and the path that you're now on? Have you thought about any of that?
Yeah, I had thought about, was I spiritual when I was younger, right? And
Yeah, what did that look like?
yeah, and I was like, is this all new since Grant, or have I been this way? And I have one tattoo that I got on my 21st birthday. I almost got it, a similar one, when I was 17 in Israel, but thank God I didn't get it because it was the wrong design. But
Where is it?
it's down on my pelvis. And so it's hidden from everybody, but it's an angel. And so I was like, well, apparently I've been pretty connected to angels because that's my only tattoo is my guardian angel.
Very cool. I did not
So I
know
was-
that.
yeah, so I was like, okay, so I've been connected to angels I guess my whole life, or at least since high school, since I wanted to get that. I just didn't think that much about it. I was also in USY. I was the Tikkun Olam vice president. So I was always wanting to volunteer and help others and play in that role. So
Tikkun Olam means to heal the world.
yes, yes. And I now feel like with Grant's story and his no other explanation stories of how he has shown up and things that happened before he passed and after he passed and our ongoing communication, that part of my mission here and my path is to help people know that their loved ones are still right here with them. And they can we grieve them physically. We grieve all of the hopes and dreams and plans that we made with them, and or that we made in our heads of things to come, but we still have an opportunity to have an energetic relationship with them and learn how to have a new kind of relationship with them. And when I started seeing signs and recognizing them and on this healing path of finding my son and finding a way to have a communication with him again, life got a lot more fun and joyful.
I'm like, has anybody thought you were crazy?
It's been pretty amazing how much it's been accepted.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, my parents both have had awesome things happen, and they get signs. My ex-in-laws, who were not open to it, have had some things happen. My son communicates with him or feels him around quite a bit. His friends will take pictures of signs that they get and text me about them. And my friend's parents, or his friends' parents, are like that. And one of his friends' moms has had 2 dream visits from him with information to bring back to me. Yeah,
Even when I was taking notes before this recording, I was writing in brown the whole time. And then once you started talking about Grant, I switched to green because my colored pencil ran out. And then you were telling me that green is his color. And I was like, literally at the same time. And then I took a picture and sent it to you. I thought that was crazy.
yes, yeah. He's just so magical and powerful. And when I open up to the possibility that he is still right here and playing, all of these wonderful magical things come through. And all of our loved ones can do that. And the more that we ask them, the more that we see the signs and we recognize them, even if it's, especially at the beginning, anytime I found a dime, because he sent dimes like crazy. So anytime I found a dime, whether I would get this feeling like it was a sign, right? Like that it was something from him, but I would give him credit just in case. And so it's building that relationship and that trust that, that I see you, I hear you, right? Or when I'd get a message, or I actually heard him within that first year say like, mom, 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 mom. And I was like, but yeah, I'm really blessed that the people in my life, my family and friends, are accepting of it, and then they started seeing things themselves.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, and so I've been really supported in it. My dad's really close with him now, and has always been close with him, but their energetic relationship is constant.
That's beautiful. Yeah, talk about your relationship with your dad because he's gone through some stuff too.
Yeah, my dad's sister passed. Well, first his nephew passed when he was like 6 months old. My cousin Lauren, before I was born, he had SIDS, died of SIDS. Then his sister passed. Lauren's mother, my Aunt Cookie. This is Aunt Cookie when she was younger. Yeah, I keep around pictures of my loved ones in spirit so that I remember how guided and how loved I am and how they're all around me. And then a couple years after that, my dad's dad passed away. And then many years after that, my grandmother passed. But I'm actually fourth generation child loss. My great grandmother had a son, Michael, that passed at around right before he was 2 years old from an accident. And then my grandmother's daughter, Aunt Cookie, passed away. Before that, Aunt Cookie's son passed away, Lauren. And so I always knew about my aunt and grandmother, but I learned recently about my great grandmother. It really makes me feel like this is my path to help people grieve differently. Right after Grant passed, I had this knowing or message come through that was like, Mom, if you use this to become a bitter bitch and curl up in a ball and not live life, then I'm going to kick your ass. Excuse my language,
Aw.
but that was that was the message.
Wow, that's a crazy, yeah, that almost seems real.
Yeah, and so it was like I knew I wasn't allowed to make it, or not allowed is the wrong term, but I knew I needed to find a way to continue living and living for the both of us, and living for my aunt and my grandmother and my great grandmother, and helping people shift, because my
That's a strong why. Wow.
yeah, and it's a lot of pressure. And there are other grieving parents that I've encountered, and grievers who aren't ready to feel, or it's not their life path to feel this way, that they're accepting that this is my path, but well, I can't be that positive, or and then they actually start looking for signs themselves and then come back and they're like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. So yeah, all we can do is plant seeds in people's awareness and trust that's what we were supposed to give to them. Trust what comes through and say it, and then but don't push it on anybody.
I'm curious, like, how you even ventured into mediumship.
Well, a few months after Grant passed, I Googled, what am I called? There's a widow or widower or an orphan if your parents pass away, but it was like, what's the title for me? And I'd heard bereaved parent, and that's still, I didn't resonate with that, right? And so when I Googled that, which I feel like I was led very much to Google that question, I found a woman named Suzanne Giesman's website, and she calls us shining light parents.
That's beautiful. That sounds better.
Doesn't that sound a whole lot better than bereaved parent? And so from Suzanne's website, where it's called us Shining Light Parents, I was like, it talked about a group called Helping Parents Heal. And Suzanne's a medium and involved in helping parents heal. And so I was like, oh, I want to find out more about this organization. And it's all volunteer parents who have had children pass who are continuing their relationship with their children, that know that their children are still with them. They have certified mediums that go through rigorous testing, and they have an amazing YouTube channel with all these meetings that have been recorded. And so I just started digging in, and when I was in the car, that was all that was on. And in the shower, I was listening to a meeting, and like all these recordings. And so there's quite a few mediums that are certified that will do gallery readings for whoever logs on. And listening to those readings, even on recording, was so powerful, because these parents that were getting readings with evidence was like, they were shocked, right? Oh my gosh. Like, and so a reading for one is a reading for all of us, because you can't make that up, right? And you can't make up the parents like resonating with the information or the truth, like these things that they can prove. So yeah, and then they have lots of experts that speak with the group. So I just started consuming as much of that information as I possibly could. And then there's a medium that I really resonated with and liked her style. And so about 11 months after Grant's passing, I took my first mediumship class, a foundations class, which is now called Staying Connected. And then I went through all the levels, and I learned from quite a few of the other mediums, and I just really dug into it, mostly just to learn how to communicate with Grant. But once you start bringing through other people's loved ones with evidence, and people are validating what you're getting, it helps trust what I get from Grant.
Wow. That's really cool. And then from that group, did you move on to other groups?
No, I mean, I really stuck with Helping Parents Heal. I knew pretty early on that I wanted a group in Louisville, I'd love to have a group in Louisville. But I also know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. And I was like, I need a co-leader. I'm not set up to do this by myself. And so I kept like Grant send me somebody. And finally I got the urge. I was like, you know what? I'll start it. And then there'll be somebody that comes to the meetings that is the perfect person to be my co-leader. And so I emailed the president of the organization, said I'd like to start a chapter here in Louisville. And apparently within 24 hours, 2 other moms in Louisville also emailed and said, I'd like to start a chapter here in Louisville. So we were all 3 brought together, and from the moment we started, we just clicked. And right now we've been kind of on a hiatus since I was out of town, and one of the leaders had a big health issue and needed to step back. But yeah, we're hoping to start doing the meetings again. And just being with other parents, talking about our kids in the present tense, and what signs we get from them, and we play with different tools and techniques and things. It's really lovely.
That's great. I love that so much. What would you tell another parent that hasn't taken your approach, that is having a hard time processing
That I have
losing a child?
Yeah, I have all the compassion and sympathy and empathy, and we each have our own path, and everything happens in exactly the right timing, to be gentle with themselves, but to start talking to their kid now, which I think a lot of parents do. But there's some people that I've encountered where they feel like they're bothering their child, that their child's busy on the other side doing things. And from my current understanding and different things, when they're across the veil, they have the ability of having their awareness in multiple places at the same time. So even if they're busy doing other things, they can also be with us and their sibling and their friends all at the same time and hop around. And that was part of one of the dream visits that Grant's friend's mom had, was that he was showing her Flash Gordon, and she didn't know that my maiden name is Gordon, so that was kind of cool too. And he was like, and popping up and giggling with his curls, and then and then popping up and giggling, and they were in the hotel lobby or something. So the other cool part of this story is the day before I'd had a meeting with my teacher, my mediumship teacher, Amy Etzman, and she said, Grant wants to know if you've gotten your flowers yet. And it's not, they're not actual physical flowers, but there's a gift of flowers, right? And so I was like, I haven't gotten it yet, but I'll keep an eye out. So when my friend called me and told me about this dream visit, she said, and after he was doing this, all these flowers started blooming everywhere in her dream. And I was like, oh, there's my gift of the flowers, right? And that was 12 hours after Amy had said, have you gotten your flowers yet? Yeah. Isn't that incredible? Yes. Yes. Yeah. And that's important. Finding other people who get it. There's also a lot of parents out there who are having these experiences, and not just parents, but spouses and friends, and like anybody that has a connection, like really loves somebody that's across the veil and struggling with grief. There are a lot of people who are getting signs and synchronicities and things with their loved ones, and they don't have anyone to talk to about it. And so then they think they're crazy, or like they're just not validated. And I feel like there's more and more people that are having these experiences, but they don't know who to talk to, and they don't quite understand them. And so that's really a big part of the practice that I'm starting is, yeah. So I'm offering a mix of mediumship and grief support, and a safe place to discuss what's going on with you, what you're feeling and experiencing, and helping people understand what's going on, and that they're not crazy, that all of this is as real can be. A lot of people that have near-death experiences will say that life felt more real while they were on the other side than when they're here in the physical. And so many have said that, right?
You said too that your dad had a near-death experience.
Yes. Yeah. When he was on his deathbed. It's a miracle he's still with us. But he was hallucinating and having all kinds of things happening and seeing strange people in the room. And I don't know which things were hallucinations and which things were like his body preparing to pass. But he said that there was a ladder that appeared, a wooden ladder, and he could see the grains of wood in the ladder. And he said it was so real. And he started climbing up the ladder, and he heard a man who might have been his father, but he's not sure, say, "Go back, Robert, it's not your time." And my dad has never studied near-death experiences or heard people's stories, right? But it's a common thing. The ladder is partly, like a lot of people experience that, but the "go back, it's not your time" is something that I've heard from a lot of near-death experiencers. And my father was not familiar with that at all. And that actually shifted him. He had been afraid, had fear of dying before that. And after that experience, he's no longer afraid. He doesn't want to pass, right? He wants to be around and watch his grandchildren grow up and his kids and be here with us. But that fear of passing is gone for him.
Wow. Do you fear death?
No.
Did you previously?
Maybe. I didn't think that much about it, I guess. But I feel like we have these meat suits, these human earth meat suits that we actually won the lottery to get, because there's tons of souls that want to come and live as a human. It's the hardest dimension or hardest place to be. But because it's so hard, because we have all these emotions, because we have this veil almost put over us that makes us think we're separate, that we're separate from God and separate from each other, which is impossible, right? We have the spark of God. We are divine, each and every one of us, and we're energetically connected. You and I aren't even in the same room, right? But our energy is flowing together, right? If one of us was really sad and confused, whatever those feelings are, we would feel them off of each other. And when somebody walks into, like, you walk by somebody at the grocery store, somebody walks into a room and they have a different energy, we notice that, right? So once we start having the awareness of what's even going on here, there is so much more going on that we have no idea what that is, right? And so I believe we can't die before our time or after our time. And that is pre-written, that there can be some exit points, but there's a final exit point if you haven't taken the previous ones. And when we go home, that's home. This is Earth School, and Earth School is hard and emotional, right? But then when we go back home, we know we're home, and we know that we're love, and we know how loved we are. I also believe that we have a life review when we pass, and that we experience the highlights and not necessarily the big events, but like how we treated other people, or the relationship things, the things that grow our soul. And so we experience them from our point of view again, but also from the other person's perspective, right? So when because that way you get that full 360 degrees of learning, right? Nothing's wasted.
Do you think you're going to be having some reality checks? I might.
Well, so now when somebody does me wrong, or what feels like, I don't really have to fight with them about it. It's just, they'll find out when they have their life review. I'll have the last word.
I love that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So it's not up to me to correct other people's behavior. They're on their own path. And if they ask me, or if there's somebody that it's close in my life, then I work through it with them. But otherwise they'll figure it out.
I think I need some of the tapping you've been doing. Maybe the paddles.
Yeah. Tapping really does help.
Yeah.
So does meditating, finding that still.
Oh yeah. I love meditation. I've gotten really into yoga lately.
I plan to start doing yoga. I know the physical body is we need to take care of our meat suits while we're here. And I've not been one to really take care. I've not enjoyed working out. I've been starting to eat a lot better.
I feel like you were always naturally thin. You were.
No. Especially after having Grant.
Having children is a sacrifice to the body. Oh yeah, girl.
I'm showing my stuff.
Yeah, that perimenopause is some good times.
Yeah, skin sinking, but we're beautiful humans, and yeah, I'm just learning to embrace it. Yeah, but
I'm curious your thoughts too on your aging parents and kind of that piece. Because I feel like, I don't know, I recently lost my grandma. I keep having visions of her. And now I'm like, oh my God, now it's like our parents are getting ready to be there. And my dad just turned 70. He is lucky that he had his mom till 97. But I had never seen someone in that state. And I was really close with her too. And I keep having flashbacks of trying to feed her in the hospital and her clenching her teeth. That's one that's so hard to get out of my mind. But I still felt like she was listening to me. And I was playing Sinatra for her. And I was like playing her all her favorite songs. And I saw her feet moving around. And when I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I interviewed her And I had a 20-minute segment and I was playing that for her in her ear so she could hear her story. And I felt like her soul was responding to that. But I know that my dad is really grieving her right now. And it's hard to grieve too. And you've got your everyday routine of taking care of your kids and then also checking in with your parents. Grief is a weird thing, how it just sneaks up when you're quiet.
Yeah, and it ebbs and flows, right? And the waves come. But I found for me personally that once I cried about a specific memory, it was then safe, or not even memory, but hope and dream or whatever that was, right? Once I allowed myself to really to cry, and when we cry, it's because we're accepting reality for what it is. We don't have to like it, right? We're not in agreement with it, but it's like, this is the reality. And so I'm going to cry about it. But when we're in resistance, we don't let those emotions flow, right? Because we're fighting it. And so once we've accepted it, we cry about it, and then it shifts us, right? And it shifts that memory to where it was safe. Right. And so that grieving process, each time I had those big releases of tears, I would then feel lighter. And a lot of people are scared to cry because we think we'll never stop. Right.
I know, I was getting ready to say I'd be crying all the time.
If I let those floodgates open, I'm so sad, I will never stop crying. Right. Nobody's ever not stopped crying. It's our critical voice. It's our human trying to protect us. That's not allowing us to accept reality for what it is. And then when we accept it, we cry, and then we're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I expected. But also what came to me was, there were a few things when you were talking about your grandma. For your dad especially, and you, but your dad spent 70 years having this woman in his life, and all the energy and the routines and our body physically misses that other physical energy. And being gentle with ourselves and remembering that's what's going on. It's almost like we're detoxing from having that person, that physicality in our energy field. And we're having to get used to not having them there, right? And then once we get used to that a little bit and the light starts to come on a little bit, then it's easier to start having that energetic new relationship with them.
Aw. He's definitely, I feel like, in transition there.
Good. In a positive way.
Yeah, I feel like he's trying to take steps to do positive things, and he was working with my son, teaching him how to spin metal, which is so cute. But he's still clearing out the house, and we're gonna go to her place as a family over a vacation. We all haven't really been back there since. So there's definitely mixed emotions going on.
What's coming through is that the veil between us can be quite thick, right? And foggy. That by doing good deeds, by your dad teaching your son, right? And bringing some joy to himself or to his life, each time we do a good deed, it thins the veil a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And so it makes connection to our loved ones easier and easier as we do. And it doesn't have to be good deeds about our loved one, right? It can just in general, but that does build the connection with them and with our guides and angels. And the higher vibration, the more joyful we can be. That's where they live. Our loved ones are amazing and full of joy, and they're pure love. And so when they're vibrating up here and we're down here, that's a pretty big jump, right? But as we try to raise, and we're human, we're not going to stay here all the time, right? And that is okay. But as we kind of shift our energy up, as we do those good deeds, as we meditate and sit in silence, as we open up and try to connect outside of ourselves, right, into the field, then we're getting closer to them and they can lower a little bit and we can meet in the middle.
I love that so much. My dad's going to love that. Thank you so much. That's really good.
But we also have to be gentle with ourselves, right? And there's been lots of times where I've been like, I just need to be high vibe. I just want to be like happy and joyful all the time so I can be with Grant and connect with him and connect with other people's loved ones. And why am I not feeling amazing? I just want to feel amazing. And it's like, oh, this is human. I'm a human. I have to accept that I'm going to be sad sometimes or frustrated or bitter or whatever feelings I'm having. And the quicker I can accept that I'm in those feelings, then it's a little bit easier to move through them for me and faster. I also, another little trick that I've used is I really try to pay attention to my gut and whether I'm feeling contracted and icky or like, or if I'm expansive and open, right? So the contraction is like no, fear, like all those negative pieces, right? So it's just information. And then that expansive feeling is love or yes, or those positive attributes. They're all okay, but like they're all just information. But when I'm feeling contracted and I notice that, I actually shift my awareness to Grant in the now, and he helps take some of that off of me. And I remember who I really am, that I'm a soul having a human experience. And it helps lighten my load a bit.
I love that. I'm so glad that you have that relationship with him. That's really beautiful.
I am so grateful for it and so grateful for him. I would rather have him here with me, of course, and never have gone through these experiences. He is such a bright light, and so many people are carrying his light forward. So I try to pay attention. I try to focus on those silver linings. But if he and the universe hadn't made it so apparent and obvious that he is still right here with me, I don't know how I would have gotten through this. People that think that their loved ones are way over there or believe that once we pass, we just no longer, there's all kinds of beliefs out there. I'm just grateful that it was not a choice that I had to make. It was so obvious that there was more going on here. And I don't know how the universe did all that for me, but it definitely happened for me. And it's a great consolation prize to be able to still have an energetic relationship with Grant if he can't be here in the physical.
That's amazing. Well, I know that you are going to continue to help people and continue to do amazing work. And thank you so much for sharing all of this with me, Carrie. Is there anything that you would like to ask my dad? I wonder if he still remembers you taking me out for my bachelorette party.
Yeah, and I almost got us in a car accident and almost broke your knee on your bachelorette party, and then we went bowling.
That was the best time ever. Oh my God.
It was a great night. Ask him if he remembers me as...
Because you, I think, brought me back to my parents' house, right?
Well, yeah, but even younger, we used to spend the night at each other's houses.
I think you were at my Sweet 16. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I did like, I think I did like midnight breakfast at Denny's. We all got like French slams or something. And oh my God, we were so silly. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to know if if he remembers me as a youngster.
Yeah.
And if he ever noticed if like what my energy was like.
Well, yeah, I love that. That's so great. That's a
I
great
really,
question.
yeah, I really thought when I was younger, and even now, that everybody had their crap together except for me. And so I, I always felt like an outsider, that other people knew what they were doing, and I was just like all in my head. And now as an adult, I know that nobody knows what they're doing. And everybody's just making it up as they go. And it's, oh my gosh, why couldn't I know that when I was younger?
I feel like you had it more together than me. That's funny.
It's all
Wow.
perception, right?
It
Like,
really is.
yeah,
I'm
we've
so
been friends.
glad that, like, on a soul connection, like the way that you were talking about things about passing strangers and having energetic energy around that, like, I think about that too. And I also was thinking, like, for us to still be in touch with all that we've both experienced and like that we're doing this recording at this time and in this space, I feel like is also so interesting and holy.
It's definitely sacred. And having a friendship for 40
Don't give it
something
away. Yeah.
years is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing, right? So
Such an
it's obvious.
evolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's obvious that we have a soul connection and a soul contract, and that I think that we're even in the same soul posse.
Yeah. Maybe
Because
we
how
like
many,
descend from the same mother or something way down the road, way
yeah.
down the line.
Well, I believe that our souls kind of each come here, like we're like, this time I want to be the mean person because it's gonna help you wake up, and I'm gonna show you how you don't want to be. And then when we go back, we're like, next time I'm gonna be the grandmother and you're gonna be this, and next time we're gonna be, and we get to each keep playing roles. And if you look at human design or astrology or gene key, like numerology, any of these things that are based on our birthdays. And then you're able to see your personality and see parts of yourself in these modalities. And all it knows about you is your birthday and time and place. That to me has been something I've really dove into to prove that there's a soul blueprint kind of thing happening. Because how else would it make any sense, right? That just my birth information shows me who, like, I resonate with, and I'm like, that's exactly how I am. Holy cow. So I had this energetic imprint when I came in, that my soul chose to be born at that time, so I would carry these aspects and this personality. And with me, my Venus is my chart ruler, right? So I lead with love. In human design, I'm a projector, and so I see deeply into people, right? There's all these different, in numerology, I'm a seven path, which is the spiritual path. So, there's all these beautiful nuggets that to me prove there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
100%.
You've heard from my mom. Now, let's switch it over to Grandpa.
All right, Carrie Gordon, blast from the past. What do you remember about us hanging out as kids and
Well,
even
I thought
older?
she was one of your wild ones, but deep down, a couple of your girlfriends turned out to be just as wild. So she's not in a class by herself. You hung out with a lot of wild girls that kept you in trouble. Thank God that some of these girls that you hung out with, right? One of them wrecked your car. I think she was in a car accident with you also, wasn't she?
Yeah, but that one I didn't give her the keys to my car. I learned that lesson in college.
Oh, but it did take you a while to calm down. But what's funny is that she's got a tremendous love for her son. And when we become parents, there is an evolution that goes by. And I have the experience, of course, always wanting a brother. Fortunately, you just gave me one. Rafi's like my brother. He's really not like a grandson or a son, but I finally got a little brother.
That's
As-
sweet to say. Wow, that's really beautiful
And
for you to say
he's
that.
and he's bigger than me.
I'm so
But
glad you guys are getting special time
yeah,
together.
we're getting really some special moments, and I see a lot of myself in him as well. So it's been a really good connection. And Carrie also with seeing and understanding some of the trauma and losses that have been in her family through a few generations, that she is trying to take these losses and try to look forward to how we can make it a positive. And that's how we have to look at life, that every minute is a gift, and that every moment that we're here, we should be trying to see if we can do something positive with our life. And it doesn't have to be just with family members. We can be part of a community. We can be part of the human race where we try to better ourselves and better the people around us. And she said something that's also very wise, that doing mitzvahs is a godly thing to do, and that we're on earth to do that as well. So anytime we can think of doing something good for someone else is a big win.
I knew you would connect to that part. And what's interesting is remember right after grandma's passing, we were like, let's try to do something in her honor every day.
That's right. And she also understands that probably, even though I'm close to many people in my family, but my mom had lived and breathed with as a confidant my entire life. I think you can relate to this because she was also one of your main confidants as well. So to lose someone that you did so many social things with and who you grew up with and you worked with and you invested with and you worked out almost all the angles of your life with this one person, and to do that for almost 70 years, and then all of a sudden you snap your fingers and they're not here. It's a very rude awakening. That's something that's so wonderful and such a tremendous relationship that you can have just with the snap of a finger might not exist the next day.
I actually really liked what she said about that.
Yeah, she had a lot of words of wisdom. And you're right. The girl that I remember didn't have any of those words of wisdom. I'm not going to call her a dingbat or anything like that, but she was just wild and looked like she was completely out of control. And she sounded like a real grown-up. But she's
We like to
also,
have a good time.
but you guys, you like to have a good time. So the truth of the matter is that she's had plenty of instances in her life and many challenges. And of course, to lose a beautiful little boy on his birthday by just trying to be a sport and let him have a little fun. And yet, it doesn't take much how fragile life can be, that we can just take our eye off the ball for a second and anything can happen. And here I just went to work, and Vic wasn't really feeling that well. And we needed to get, I think, 51 pieces out. And I worked my tail off for 3 days, as you know. And he was only able to ship 40 pieces. And when somebody is calling you day and night for these pieces, and you're killing yourself to try to get them out, and it didn't work out, we only got 40 of them, it's just a very terrible feeling to not have been successful. And I learned a lot from it. It was a very difficult job. I said to Vic, do you want me back to try to run the rest of the order when I come back? He says, of course. Okay, you learned. There's so many things that can happen with this job. I know you'll do better the next time. He's
Aw.
just looking at it with the positive outlook that even though 24 of them went wrong, that you can still learn from this and still grow from this and move forward and do a better job the next time. And that's how we have to go through life too, is that things can happen, mistakes can occur, accidents can happen, and we have to figure out that isn't necessarily all in our control, that things can happen, but we have to figure out that whatever does happen, to still look at a forward path still try to be positive with our lives and move forward. And a lot of times we can relate to what's happened and make more meaningful things happen still in our lives. And she can help people. Look at the beautiful advice she was able to give with the back and forth stories where
Amazing. I wanted
uh,
you to too relate on the signs and visions. Even her father had a vision of going up and down a ladder. I feel like Rose had that same similar vision at one point.
that she did. So the truth of the matter is that now you're back into, as I feel like with God, that I'm connected through my dreams, where I've gotten so many different signs and things, and where I'm really connected
I know
very
you believe in
strongly
that.
into the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And I keep telling you that just because people think I'm a little crazy, that I have this strong inner spiritual connection, that I'm not alone. We all have that capability of being spiritual and being able to connect with not only God, but with other dimensions. Okay. And our brain and eyes sometimes have to connect, where unless we see it, we don't believe it. Unless we're,
Synchronicity or whatever.
that's right. But our souls are connected. I believe as well that we can connect and we can be spiritual and we can connect with God. And I don't see why we can't connect with loved ones as well. So I'm not sure of what I'm saying is where I can quote the Bible on it or quote the scientific journal over it, but I do believe that we can spiritually be connected. And I believe that another phenomenon that goes on, I'll just sum it up by saying this, is that twins, which was on your previous guest, where, and it doesn't have to be two girls or two boys, it can be a twin sister with a twin brother, that they have a way of feeling and connecting with each other, and they don't have to be on the phone. They can hear each other and feel each other even thousands of miles away. Is that a phenomenon? Is that just a coincidence? Too many examples of it that I've seen in my life to think that there isn't some type of spiritual connection between twins. And if that happens, you mean it can't be with a mother and a son? I think it there definitely can be, because I still feel very connected. And that's probably why I'm grieving so hard with my mom. I still feel her even now, and it's months later.
Me
So,
too.
so the truth
I
of the
still have
matter is,
visions of her and I still call out to her and talk to her, I feel like.
so the truth of the matter is that it depends on how strong of a concentration and connection that you have. And if you really believe that you're connected, I think you can also see the signs.
I love that.